Well, there's no basketball coach ever. Yeah, I'm reading the accolades. The most wins by any head basketball coach in men's basketball history. That's pretty good. That seems like that'd be near the top of my resume. 5 natties, 42 years at Duke, the gold standard program, 24-0 as an Olympic coach, and now a public speaker with grandkids in the area. What a life for Mike Krzyzewski, who's now joining us live. You know, you told me years ago, you said, Colin, I start recruiting guys 6 to 7 years before you see me sign them. So let's talk Cooper Flagg. Basketball is a very unique sport where you can see at 10, 11, 12, 13, you can see special. Do you remember the first time you saw Cooper Flagg?
You know, I do not, because I'm 3 years retired. So right. Shire must have seen him when he was 14. But I did see him when he was at Mount Verde. They have 4 from his high school team. They have 4 kids who are going to be first-round draft picks. And I knew he was special, but because they had so much talent, I didn't realize how special he is. Yeah. And this kid plays every play hard. And
yes.
Every play.
People have compared him, I think, almost favorably to Jayson Tatum. When I watch him, he feels a little more aggressive than Jayson. He's an aggressive attacking player. Do you think that comp is fair and realistic?
I think they're 2 different players. They're both 6'8". Actually, I think Cooper grew about an inch here. You know, he's still only 18 years old, so he's still growing. He might end up being 6'10". But I think offensively, Jayson really has developed into a great shooter. We're waiting to find out about his injury, but he's really developed differently than I think Cooper will develop. Cooper is just unique, like he's so strong. His legs are so strong, and athletically, he's gifted. But attitudinally, when you add his athletic ability and his competitive attitude, you have a very special guy. And he can really score the ball. I think he's a good shooter, trying to become a really good shooter. Yeah. Whereas Jayson is that shooter.
I read Ian O'Connor's book about you, which I thought was fascinating on so many levels. And it's so funny. John Wooden and you're obviously the all-time greats, but John Wooden, it took a long time for him to win at UCLA. And as Ian O'Connor pointed out, there was a meeting or two about Mike Krzyzewski and about your 4th year, and people are like, we don't know if this kid from Army is going to work. You endured for a lot of reasons. You're smart. You're collaborative. You were a grinder. There's a lot of reasons. But when I look at college basketball today, do you like the place we're in? Tom Izzo's a survivor, but a lot of the big ones have left. Sometimes college football, I think, is too impatient. Do you think college basketball is good to coaches? Because the NBA, I could argue, is not a great place to coach. Is college basketball today?
Actually, I think the NBA is a better place to coach. I think college basketball now is pretty much like the NBA, except there's no transparency. In other words, you're at one school, I'm at another. I don't know what you're doing for a player. You don't know what I'm doing for a player. And it's really professional right now, our college basketball. But the product is outstanding. And kids are staying longer because of NIL.
Yeah.
You're getting older teams. The influx of young international pro players to college. You can win quicker in college now. But like John Shire has done a great job here at Duke, replacing me. And I've told him, I said, I think you've done a better job than I would have done in the last 3 years with all the changes, because I would have always been saying stuff, well, it used to be this way, it used to be that way. And for you, you're just starting out. It wasn't used to be. It is. And right now, I just think people should put their arms around college sports, especially college basketball, in my opinion, and run it like a business, because it is a business.
Yeah.
And the product is great, though. There's so much talent out there.
There's an argument people have made. I don't know if I concur with it, but it's an interesting argument that J.J. Redick is smart. He's very tightly wound, that in the NBA in big games, he's a teeth clencher a little bit. He's very, very intense. And in the NBA as a coach, he was very intense. And people say, boy, it's not about that. It's more Steve Kerr. You got to be part psychologist, part schematic guy, that maybe JJ is just too intense. When you watch, and listen, that's a good quality to have. What do you make of it? I mean, you were intense. I watched you ride officials for several years.
I'm still intense.
What do you make of those discussions about JJ that maybe he's wound a little tight?
No, he wants to win, and his preparation to win is outstanding. There's a learning curve in every profession. I thought he had a great season, and his players, he won over his players. His players know how hard he works, and he was a terrific player. I think he's learned a lot from this year. He'll critique himself and have, he has a veteran staff where those guys will take a look at what they did and how they were doing it and make adjustments going into next year. But he had a great first year, and they played a team in the first round that was deeper and more athletic.
Yes.
And the NBA has gotten more physical, which I think is good, but it's really physical in the playoffs, and that lent itself to giving the Timberwolves a little bit more of an advantage. And they're a good team. They're a really good team.
You, Steve Kerr, Mark Few, Boeheim, you guys all have done a very good job coaching professional players. As college coaches, obviously Kerr played at Arizona, but he's a pro coach. And is there coaching at Duke, because you have so many pro players, is a little NBA-ish?
Yeah, it is.
It is. Did you ever take anything from the pros and bring it back to Duke to help you?
Oh yeah, I coached the U.S. team for 11 years. In 3 Olympics and 2 world championships. And I brought back a lot, the sports science, how guys prepared, language, not cussing in that, but different, although probably picked up a few words there too. No, just how their defensive coverages, but they're, one of the main things is how hard they prepared. And the excellent shape they kept themselves in. And I brought that back, where we really increased our sports medicine science. But it also helped me X and O wise. I had Jim Boeheim was with me all 11 years, but I had Monty Williams and Thibodeau, these guys who are, terrific pro coaches. And I learned a lot from them, but I learned from the players, because they're really, these are great players. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, all these guys, they really understand the game. People don't realize how smart they are and how much preparation that they give. So those were 11 amazing years for me. And I was very lucky to have that opportunity.
Christian Laettner was so dominant when he played, and he was part of that Kentucky win. You just years and years ago, maybe it was Jay Billis was sharing a story about the first time you had seen LeBron, and he took 2 steps at half court and dunked it, and you turned to Billis and went, "What in the world am I watching?" Go back to your college career. I'm going to test your memory. Was there a moment when you obviously coached your team hard, but you allowed players to go off script? A Grant Hill. Players.
Sure. Yeah.
Was there ever a moment in college you went back and you turned to an assistant and you're like, this player is better than I thought he would be? This, like, you were actually, as a coach, you turned to an assistant and said, I never imagined he would be this good, this player.
Yeah, no, a number of times. I can remember when we had Bobby Hurley.
Yep.
And Bobby was as good a point guard that's ever played in college. And one practice, he's playing defense, and I looked to Tommy Amaker, who was one of my assistants then, and I said, I've never seen anybody play that hard. And then at times with Grant Hill, if Grant Hill had not been injured 5 years into his pro career, he would have ended up being one of the top 10 players of all time. And but he was very humble. And there were times at timeouts I would say, every 4 minutes I'd say, okay, every time you touch the ball, I don't want you to pass it. I just want you to do whatever you want with it. He said, what do you mean? I said, no, just do something where someone says, how did Coach K teach you how to do that? No, I'm not lying. I mean, this is true. And because there's certain players that you have to be careful not to overcoach. You have to give them the room to become what their talent can show. And Zion was that. Really, even though he's an outstanding athlete, but he wasn't that like those two guys, Zion and Grant. Battier was like that. He was very humble too.
Yeah.
And I'd say, come on, man, let it out. Let it out. Like we were talking about JJ earlier. JJ did, Colin, he did some stuff that I could not imagine.
Yeah.
In hostile arenas, guys were pulling on his shirt. He was trying to run him into the ground. And he enjoyed putting up 40 on the road, or 38 or 36.
Yeah.
He was so damn cocky and good. No, he really was. I loved, my plays worked better with I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's what Nick Saban says. Yeah, it always plays better when I get a great pass rush from a 5-star guy.